What's your favorite Mark Cuban story?
Wow. Well, tough question. There's a lot of them. I think there's a perception, and I know there was a perception when I was talking to these guys about coming here that that he's super involved, that he's a meddler, that this and that and the other. And when I talked to him about coming here, it was interesting. Terry Stotts and Dwayne Casey had sat out the same year I did in 07, 08. And I had talked to Dwayne about the possibility of working with me, if I got a job coming out of this little hiatus thing. And I had actually traveled to Seattle a couple of times because that's where he was living, to talk to him. Turned out that he and I had a lot of the same views of the game. And then the two of us, Dwayne and I, did a thing for the NBA of guys that were former players who were interested in getting into coaching. It was like a 2-day clinic thing, and Terry Stotts was involved because he was doing some stuff with the NBA having to do with referee oversight and stuff like that. He was always really interested in that side of it. So the three of us spent a couple of days together, and then I ended up talking to Terry. He came down to South Carolina and visited me at our place down there for a couple of days to talk about the possibility of working together if things kind of fell in line. And so the three of us on one day in the spring of 2008, we're in Indianapolis. Those guys came into town. We had 3 interviews. Donnie Walsh flew in. He was with the Knicks at the time. He flew in, very quietly and interviewed us at the airport in a private room in an FBO. And I had these guys with me, and we were kind of interviewing as a package, and then at 5:30 p.m., Gar Forman and John Paxson came over to our house in Indiana and came for dinner. And that was the second time I was sitting down with them. And then about 9:30 at night, Donnie Nelson knocks on the door, and I knew he was going to be coming. And we had just, I'll never forget it, we had just put mulch down on our landscaping. So it kind of smelled like a cow barnyard. And Donnie's from the Midwest, so he's at the door. He's got cowboy boots on and a John Deere hat and And my wife Donna answers the door, and he goes, "Smells like Iowa here." So he came in. We went down the basement. Me, Casey Stotts, and Donnie, and talked basketball for a couple hours. Turned out that I was the only guy that they were really interested in talking to. And so, things kind of got moving. And then the next day, Mark Cuban, who had been in Chicago the previous day because he was talking about trying to buy the Cubs at the time, he flies in, and we meet at a small hotel out near the airport in a little meeting room. And Mark walks in, and he just starts talking. He just starts talking about the team. He starts talking about the league. He starts talking about Dallas, and it was like, and at one point I said, "Mark, listen, I just got one question for you. What if you were to find out that the team actually performed better if you weren't in the bench area?" Because this was one of the things, people were seeing him down there. He looked, so involved and stuff like this. And and he goes, "Oh, no, it's great. It's great because, we're on the road. People just heckle me. They don't even bother the players." So I knew that this was like never going to be a conversation. And so at that point in time, I ended up getting the job, and, I really just ended up saying to Mark right off the bat, "Look, I know you're close with the players. I know you go out and party with these guys some. I know you're going to be talking to them, texting them." I said, "However much you're involved, I want you to be involved even more. I want you to be around the team even more. I want you to be as many practices and games as you can. I want you to be in the locker room before the game, at halftime. Wow. I want you to see what's going on all the time." I said, The only thing I ask you, and listen, I had never been like this, but it was clear to me that this situation was different.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and that he was a very, very important part of it. I said, look, the only thing I ask is that if there's something that I need to know, I said, you gotta tell me. And so he said, hey, you got a deal. And look, as time has gone on, it's gotten harder to keep him around the team because he's got, he's turned into an international TV star, with Shark Tank and a lot of other things. And, but this is still his baby. This is still his greatest love. And, as we've rebuilt the team and all that kind of stuff, he lets us do our jobs. He's not nearly as involved and a quote unquote meddler as people, may think or may want to think from the outside.
He's not meddling with like personnel decision, like is he giving you his thoughts sometimes on guys who should be playing more or guys who should be playing less and those things, or is it just conversations, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, I consider this to be one of the great things about working here for assistant coaches, because what Mark will do, a lot of times he'll go to the assistant coaches. He doesn't like coming directly to me with stuff a lot of times, although I encourage him to. But my assistants, I've always had coordinators. I have a defensive and offensive coordinator, and Mark will go to these guys and talk to them direct and ask questions and stuff like that. And as guys like Steven Silas and Jamal Mosley, have interviews for head coaching jobs. One of the things that I tell decision makers is, look, these guys have a much different level of exposure to, working with owners, dealing with ownership, stuff like that, and it's a next level type thing. And you gotta, but look, it was the greatest decision I ever made here was to try to involve him even more, because it built immediate trust, and he has such presence. And look, he's involved in all the decisions, but it doesn't mean that he's meddling.